The News 4 Rundown starts now.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the News 4 Rundown. I'm Sean Yancey. It is Tuesday, May 26th. Here's a look at some of the stories we're following for you tonight. Coming up, drivers may soon have to pay more to use the Dulles Toll Road. We'll tell you when the increase could happen and why it's necessary. Plus, as politics continues to divide the nation, it is also causing voters, especially black men, to change how they get their news. What new research shows about how Americans view the world around them. And celebrating America's 250th birthday by traveling to some not-so-common tourist spots. Our Tommy McFly is taking us to Yorktown, Virginia, for a walk through history to kick off his new series, Beyond the Marble. But first tonight, you will hear what it is like for a Maryland woman being held in an ICE detention center almost 1,000 miles away from her family. Since Maryland does not have detention centers, detained immigrants are sent to other states that do. And that includes Richwood Correctional Center in Louisiana, which has faced complaints in the past about detainee care and facility conditions. The Department of Homeland Security said the facility complies with all standards. Tracy Wilkins and the News4 I-Team sat down with family members about their concerns and spoke with the woman being detained who's wondering what her future holds.
They treat us like a criminal. I feel like that.
Damaris Gomez-Lawrence never thought she'd be here.
I miss my family.
For more than half a year, she's been held in ICE's Richwood Correctional Center in Monroe, Louisiana. She called her family in Maryland, where she's from, while we were there. The signal's not great, going in and out. They have to pay for these calls themselves. This one, $3 for 15 minutes. What has it been like for you to be apart from your husband, from your two sons?
It's really hard. We never been separate, and now more than 7 months without them.
Without her, and this past holidays was tough, very difficult. Not having her.
Hasey Garcia is her niece.
She's a key part of our family. She keeps us together, too.
This picture taken the day she says Damaris was detained during her annual ICE probation check-in in Baltimore last August. She has a work permit and operated an electrical business with her husband. She has no criminal record and says she's been trying to become a legal citizen since 2014. Her detention has cost her family, both emotionally and financially.
Just her own attorney that she files for emergency stays, for her appeal to reopen her immigration case. You're talking about from $5,000 to $6,000.
It's hard to visit so far away, but the family says their trip to Richwood earlier this year was tough for other reasons.
After months of not seeing her, so we hugged her, and one of the officers started yelling, "Stop, stop. You can only hug her for 10 seconds. I was like, 10 seconds? They told us 3 minutes.
Damaris told them about the challenges she's faced inside.
The bathroom is really bad conditions. They always wet because they always leaking.
Richwood, I think, is the worst of the worst.
Vincent Rivas Flores, immigration attorney with Amica Center for Immigrant Rights, says he's heard that complaint and others about Richwood from clients detained there from Maryland.
For months, my clients have told me that there has been mold problems in the bathrooms and the toilets and the showers.
According to a 2023 DHS Office of Inspector General report, inspectors found health and safety violations, including poor housing conditions and unclean showers, which DHS said it addressed with renovations.
So much can change if Richwood actually listened to the complaints. These complaints are not new.
The OIG report also noted that Richwood restricted detainees' access to legal visitation and calls without providing justification. I said it complies with all standards and logs if any restrictions have to be made.
Sometimes I will not be able to talk to my clients for several days unless they call me, and it's not a private call.
If you could come up with a list for what Richwood could do to improve, where would you begin?
The number one thing that they can do is fix the food. That's probably the first thing that they can do, and it almost certainly would be the easiest.
I don't have any fruit, real fruit. We stay 1 week, but bologna sandwich. 1 bologna, 2 pieces of bread, and cookie or chips for a week. Lunch and dinner.
DHS responded, telling the I-Team claims Richwood ICE facility has subprime conditions are false and added, all detainees are provided with 3 meals a day, clean water, clothing, bedding, showers, and toiletries, and have access to phones to communicate with their family members and lawyers. Certified dietitians evaluate meals.
How many people in that room where you sleep?
100. Now it's 93, I think. Sometimes we have around 108.
Damaris told us she ended up at Richwood after flying from BWI in Maryland to Alexandria International Airport in Louisiana. While we don't know how many others from Maryland are there, according to data collected from the ICE Flights Monitor Project, almost 60% of all ICE flights from Maryland since January of 2025 were bound for Alexandria. That's almost 100 flights through April of this year. Damaris's husband told our Telemundo 44 partner Rosfeliz Quiones he worries about deportation and what's next for the love of his life.
After so many years of living in this country, having many things built together, it's like everything is coming down, and she has 20 years in this country, or 21, practically a life made. You have to return to a country that maybe you don't know.
Damaris's family says she's earned a nickname among the women in detention. They call her Pastor.
I'm preaching in this place. I know God have hope, and I really have a hope on God. I'm trusting Him, and He's justice. He will make justice. I know.
This family has a lot of faith and belief in their faith. DHS said in its statement that ICE has higher detention standards than most U.S. prisons that hold actual U.S. citizens, and that ensuring the safety, security, and well-being of individuals in our custody is a top priority at ICE. We also reached out to the company that runs Richwood for ICE, but have not heard back yet. Damaris Gomez-Lauren's family would like to see her returned home on bond while the legal process plays out. That's something the immigration advocates we talk to tells us that happens less and less for people they represent. The family just told us they're hoping a judge makes a ruling in her case soon. So they are standing by and just hoping that she will come home and that some kind of bond will be allowed in her case. But this has been so difficult. And I got to tell you that the conversations with her husband were so heartbreaking because she was the one who made the appointments for their electric business. She was the one who organized everything and told him where to go. Now he's doing that on his own. He's also cooking meals for his boys and running that household and taking care of it. And he does not feel like he's doing a good job at that work. He wants his partner back by his side.
Of course.
And the family's just so broken. Like who she is in that center, when she said that she is called pastor, that's who she was for the family and for their local church. And now she's just been ripped away from this family.
I can clearly hear the pain in her voice and her family's voice. And as I listened to this, saw the conditions and what she described, the conditions there. Is there any recourse for her and other people who are detained in facilities like this?
Well, there used to be, right? But a lot of these agencies have been gutted out under the Trump administration. And folks can, appeal to the federal government, but the process takes a while. And attorneys are even confused about exactly how to do that with some of the issues. You see that the report that we were looking at is from 2023, where they were able to, go in and inspect and then come back with, here are the things that need to be fixed. And in that report, Richwood said, there are some things here that we agree with and that we're going to fix, but you could hear that there are people who still have concerns. So it just gives you an idea of what it's like, especially from people in Maryland who are sent all the way across the country away from their families. People can't visit them. In her case, she has the emergency stay, so she's still in this country. But part of the reason that so many folks are being sent to Louisiana is because it's a little easier to deport them from that state as opposed to some of the other states in the country. But she is still here and still fighting.
Well, thank you for shining a light on this, giving us a little insight into what so many families are experiencing. All right. Thank you, Tracy. All right, here's a look at some of the other stories we are following tonight. Police are looking for a car involved in a deadly hit and run in Fairfax County, Virginia. It happened right at the intersection at Arlington Boulevard and Patrick Henry Drive in Seven Corners. Police say the car did have the green light, but the driver kept going after the crash. The man who was hit later died in the hospital. Investigators are looking for a silver sedan. If you have any information, call police. A month after his 5-year-old son drowned in the Anacostia River, a local father is pushing for new safety measures at the river. They include barriers and warning signs to be placed right next to the banks of the river. We reached out to the National Park Service and asked about whether new safety measures are being considered in wake of the drowning. We have not yet heard back. Virginia's new law banning the sale and transfer of assault weapons goes into effect July 1st, but conservative prosecutors in 5 conservative counties say they will not enforce that new law. The new law makes it a misdemeanor, punishable by up to a year in jail and a $2,500 fine for people to buy, sell, transfer, import, or manufacture an assault firearm. Conservatives argued the law goes against the Second Amendment. Several lawsuits have already been filed against Virginia's new law. Today, Maryland Governor Wes Moore signed more than 270 bills into law, among them the Maryland Transit and Housing Opportunity Act and the Maryland Housing Certainty Act. Governor Moore said the legislation will open nearly 300 acres of land near transit with a goal of building 7,000 new homes. Well, we all know that driving is expensive for a number of reasons right now, so you might be looking for any reason to avoid tolls as part of your commute. In Virginia, fewer drivers used the Dulles Toll Road last year than expected, and that has led to questions about whether or not tolls will have to be increased on that road. News 4 transportation reporter Adam Tuss has the latest now from the toll road.
With gas prices sky high, who wants to throw in a toll as part of their commute as well? Well, commuter Henry, when thinking about the pluses and minuses of the Dulles Toll Road,
it is more efficient, like commuting, but it can add up if I use it every day.
You might find your way around it or something, right?
Yeah, I have to find some alternative routes, I guess. And
Henry may not be alone. Take a look at the red line on this graphic recently presented to the Airports Authority, which owns the toll road. The red line was the forecast of toll road users last year, and the dark blue rectangle is the actual number of users. You can see the actual number tailed off at the end of last year, leading to about 3 million fewer users on the road than expected. Now, according to the website Fairfax Now, when this information was presented to the Airports Authority Board, there was discussion of possibly increasing the rates along the toll road to make up potentially lagging revenue.
I wouldn't be a fan of that. I feel like they're already pretty rough as it is.
Right now, if you use Easy Pass, it costs $4 at the main toll plaza and $2 at off-ramps, $6 one way.
Yeah, well, look, the Dulles Toll Road here obviously gives you a straight shot to places like Tyson's, Reston, Herndon, the airport itself. But there have been some recent transportation improvements near the toll road, like widening Route 7 here, and that's given drivers another alternative to using the toll road.
The traffic is not that bad, depending on what time you travel.
The Airports Authority sent us this statement saying toll rates on the Dulles Toll Road, which have not changed since January 1st, 2023, are not expected to increase before 2028. As reported to the board on May 20th, 2026, revenue is in line with budgeted amounts. A traffic and revenue study is planned for later this year to confirm future projections. Even with lower than expected traffic last year, the toll road still generated over $150 million, much of that money being used to help finance the now built Silver Line extension to Dulles International Airport and Loudoun County. Along the toll road, Adam Tuss, News 4.
There is much more to come on the News 4 Rundown, including the latest on the storms moving into our region this week. With the rise of social media, podcasting, and independent reporting, traditional news media is slowly losing its audience. It's because more Americans say they can't trust what they see on their TV screen, read in the newspaper, or what they hear on the radio. A 2025 Gallup poll found only 28% of Americans said they have a great deal or fair amount of trust in newspapers, television, or radio to report the news fully, accurately, and fairly. That's down from 31% in 24 and 40% in 2020. 7 in 10 adults said they haven't had much confidence or no confidence in traditional news reporting. Well, today we're learning even more about a specific group of people who are turning out major media outlets. A new focus group found that black men are turning to other forms of media for news at a high rate. The focus group was conducted by the Democratic firm Navigator Research. The firm allowed Phil Lewis, senior front page editor for the Huffington Post, to watch the focus group. Phil joins us now to share what he learned. Phil, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
based on the results that you witnessed and you found from this focus group, what results or what stood out most to you about this?
Yeah, so great question. The focus group was about Black men who had voted for Trump in 2024 and either voted for Biden in 2020 or were just Democratic leaning. Pretty much a lot of what the focus group was about was the Trump administration expressing concerns, specifically about Trump's leadership, the economy and inflation. But what I thought was really interesting was their input and their responses regarding the media. They had all pretty much said, hey, we don't really go to the mainstream media, so that's like CNN, and it's now to find our news, we're going on podcasts, we're finding independent creators online on platforms like YouTube, Joe Rogan and Roland Martin, figures like these, to find their news. So I thought that was really interesting to me, and that's what I wrote the story about.
Phil, let me ask you, what were some of the main reasons, highlight them again if you could, that why these men said they were turning away from mainstream media to other forms of media?
Yeah, so, I mean, I talked to a group of men from Georgia and Michigan and North Carolina, and one of the responses, one of the men who was from Atlanta actually had said, mainstream media seemed just too controlled. The large news outlets seem to be more controlled in what they had to say, and they didn't feel as though they could trust what they were getting from these outlets. And so they preferred actually to focus on their local news outlets. Some of them mentioned their local news outlets. One of the respondents from Detroit had said he really focuses on his local Fox station there in Detroit. So local news was pretty trustworthy for them, and also these independent creators on these social media platforms.
It's good to hear that they trust local news. Let me ask you, I'm curious, in the results of this, did age play a factor? I mean, were older men one way and younger men a different way?
Yeah, so great question. So I did have I saw a range of people that were involved in this focus group. And surprisingly, for example, the 55-year-old said, hey, I go on YouTube to find my news, and I rely on social media. And so I think social media it plays such a heavy role in kind of our lives now, like even older adults. Like I know my family, right? When I think about the older folks in my family, they're on Facebook all the time to find their news, right? Mm-hmm. So age actually didn't play that large of a role, and I think that's what made the entire story, like the piece of it. I want to focus on how they were responding to the news and where they were finding it.
We have about 30 seconds left. Was there anything? Yeah. Did the men say there was anything that mainstream media could do to win back their trust?
I think the main thing was more so just focusing on issues that they care about. Mm-hmm. But that was pretty broad. I mean, that could be anything. But they were mostly saying like, hey, we want to be represented. We want our stories to be told kind of in the media. I think they find that through local and independent creators.
Fascinating for sure. Phil Lewis, senior front page editor for the Huffington Post. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have seen the clouds, we have seen the showers, and we're going to continue to see them as we make our way through the rest of the evening, off and on, and then overnight, and then again during the day tomorrow. And tomorrow's storms could actually be on the heavy side. Out there right now, 74 degrees, calm winds, dew point still above 65, or at least at 65, so you could feel that humidity out there. Humidity is going to be a big factor tomorrow as well. Now, temperatures, 75 Gaithersburg, or rather 75 Frederick, 71 Gaithersburg, 72 in Leesburg, and Culpeper coming in at 73. We've seen showers off and on during the day. Right now, those showers coming along the I-95 corridor, back to the west, more showers, so these will continue to work their way on through. Now, they're widely scattered. There's nothing too heavy about any of these, so if you are out and about, maybe you take the umbrella just in case. If you're driving, maybe you have to hit the windshield wipers a couple of times, but that's going to be about it. You can see these going right across the Beltway, or right across the I-95 in through the southern part of the Beltway, moving in towards Prince George's County out there right now. The wider picture showing what's going on to the south. south, thunderstorm activity, very heavy rainfall. And look at all the moisture just working its way to the north here. We will see that boundary that we've seen move to the south, move back to the north, and give us that chance of rain overnight again. You see the rain overnight. Mostly out of here by the morning around the metro, but areas to the north, we'll see it now. Areas along the Pennsylvania border, up around Hagerstown, maybe Frederick and Martinsburg. You folks have the best chance to see rain early in the day. Notice south of D.C., that rain waits until the afternoon. That's where we have the best chance for some strong to potentially severe storms during the early part of the afternoon. This is around 1, 2 o'clock. By the time we get to, say, 5 or 6 o'clock, notice the rain is gone. It's all now to the south. So we have a dry evening for the most part before we have another chance of showers overnight. Tomorrow night, before it's all said and done, because guess what happens on Thursday? We see the sun start to come out and high pressure takes over, sunny skies. We see some gorgeous weather out there on Thursday, and that leads us into what I think will be a spectacular weekend. Friday, fantastic Friday, a high of 80, 78 on Saturday. Look at Sunday, a high of 74. Gorgeous weather out there and gorgeous spring-like weather as we usher in the month of June. The first full week of June, look at those numbers. Plenty of sunshine next week as well. Enjoy the weather. We just got to get through some rather tough storms during the day tomorrow.
To start things off, we're in a place where you get hands-on with history. The American Revolution Museum at Yorktown brings you into a Revolutionary Army encampment. And Homer Lanier, you spend more time here than probably anybody. What happens in this place?
So our Continental Army encampment, we show you how soldiers lived, how soldiers trained, how they defended our liberty, how we fed them, and how we took care of any injuries or wounds along the way. And we're going to meet one of our Continental soldiers right now. This is Jamie Richardson, who's going to speak to you about the weapon of war from the 18th century.
Hey, Jamie.
Hi, good afternoon, sir.
Are you an actor, an educator? What do you do here? Because you look great.
Well, thank you. Well, yes, we are not actors, so you flatter me. Not an actor. We are educators here. So what I'm holding in my hand here, this is the standard issue firelock for the Continental Army. It is known as the Brown Bess. It does look a lot longer than it is. If I actually remove the bayonet, it's only about 5 feet. We also know a height requirement for an infantry soldier was about 5'4", 5'6". So this is with the bayonet off.
It's
so
heavy.
The bayonet is going to add a little bit more weight to it. You can certainly shoulder that down range if you like. While the American exercise for this weapon told the men to take aim with their weapon, that just meant they were to keep sight of some object in the distance, their target that's in the distance, and squeeze the trigger firmly. Modern people, they tend to look at these tactics and make what is a reasonable assumption.
Deadly dodgeball.
Exactly, right? So it's the worst game of dodgeball you've ever played in your life, right? Nobody felt good about these tactics. You were firing one shot. Well, it's going to take a soldier about 15 seconds. A lot can happen in 15 seconds.
Truly. Gunpowder in the air. You could spend a whole week here.
Oh, you easily could. And remember, it got started up there in Boston and Philadelphia 250 years ago. We closed the deal at Yorktown in 1781. You have a lot to explore, so have a great day.
Musket drop, as they say. Let's go check it out. Stepping back in history, the American Revolution Museum at Yorktown brings you into what a farm of that time would look like. And Harvey Bakari, who's the curator of Black Studies and Culture, is bringing us to present day. Tell me about the new exhibit you've got, Give Me Liberty.
Give Me Liberty is going to look at the American Revolution and how Virginians were leaders in the Revolution. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Patrick Henry.
And you're speaking about George Washington. His army was quite the coalition. Not something people maybe think about when they think about the Revolution.
Correct. His army, and he had to depend on an army that consisted of white men from the western frontier, those who didn't have much to tenant farmers, but he also had to depend on free and enslaved people to fight in the Revolution as well. In addition to indigenous nations, different nations had to take sides if they were going to fight for the Americans or become allies to the British.
To be standing on that land where that happened, it's such a special moment.
Yes, it is. It is, because often through history, many farms like this, they weren't officers, but they had to fight for American liberty. You see out here some of that representation. You have a slave quarter here to your left, you have a middling plantation here to your right, and the middling family.